Good evening, and welcome to Uncommon Conversations on Signature Television. As usual, we are reaching you from our Enugu studios. Of course, Enugu, as you may all know, is still the capital of Southeast Nigeria. The Igbo race, the Southeast Nigeria, has been in the news in the past 2 days for the right reasons. Because on Tuesday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law bills creating the Southeast Development Commission. The Ohanaeze Ndigbo worldwide has expressed gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for signing that bill. The bills include the Northwest Development Commission, sponsored by Deputy Senate President and Jibril Barua, and the Southeast Development Commission, sponsored by Ben Kalu, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Reacting, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, in a statement issued on Wednesday by East National Publicity Secretary, Dr. Chidozie Alex Obunna, described the bill as a quantum leap, a hope renewal, and a significant part of a new beginning. The statement noted that the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Chief Engineer Dr. Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, was highly elated by the development. Ohanaeze said the Southeast Development Commission, which will cover Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states, would go a long way to assuage the feelings of the Igbos with respect to the 3 R's self-history by General Yakubu Gowon in January 1970. Ohanaeze seized this opportunity to commend the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, and the co-sponsors of the all-important bill during the courtesy call to the National Assembly by the leadership of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. The exceptional quality of Kalu did not go unnoticed. To discuss this very important matter is Dr. Ambrose Igboke. He's already in the studio. Dr. Ambrose Igboke is the chairman, Guild of Political Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, Enugu State Chapter. He's also a development communication expert. He's also a university don. Dr. Ambrose, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for baptizing me on the show. This is my first time of coming.
Okay, this is your first time.
It is my first
of course,
time.
It won't be the last.
Oh, sure.
The Ohanaeze Ndigbo and a lot of Igbo people are elated about this law that has just been signed. And one commentator said this is bringing to an end 54 years of the yearning of Ndigbo for reintegration into the Nigerian mainstream. As important as the law is, do you believe it is a signal or is a signpost for reintegration? Where have we been before now?
Well, I would say the person made the statement out of the excitement of signing the bill.
Okay.
Rather than bringing the end to agitation, it's now the beginning of interrogating the agitations. Perhaps this will lead to maybe setting up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because there will be too much of cover-up about the Biafran War. The Western media blacked us out. If not for the courageous writings of Frederick Forsyth, a lot of things would have been lost. When I hear news nowadays and some people are killed, not even up to a quarter of what happened in Biafra, people who died in Biafra, yet the world has refused, United Nations, even Nigeria, and other bodies have refused to call what happened in Biafra a genocide. So it starts to interrogate. For me, it is a way of interrogating, beginning of interrogation, not the end to the agitation.
Okay. When you, maybe 2 days ago, even yesterday, when you had the news and the subsequent comments by Ndigbo, as a communication expert, as a public affairs analyst, what really came to your mind?
Well, the comments were mostly from politicians who wanted the validation from the president. So it's usual adulations, political adulations. But Not to sound negative, it is a good development, actually, because what we have noticed, apart from the onset of development commissions in Nigeria, which was started by OMPADEC those days, Oil Mineral Development Commission, which later transmitted to NDDC, we could see that a lot of money, go through this development commission, and then, from oil companies, from the federal government and the rest. But we still find out that 30 something years on, over 30 years on of Niger Delta Commission, Development Commission, the Niger Delta is still worse off. There's still oil spillage. It's still dilapidated. It's still retrogressive. We are not seeing anything that the Development Commission has done over there. So it's not yet Uhuru. When I heard about it, I said, okay, fine. Then what next? That was my own reaction to it, because we are very good at creating all kinds of agencies in Nigeria, creating commissions, creating ministries. At the end, they all end up as window shopping. But for the mere fact that the Development Commission will pull its own funding outside the federal allocation that are going to states, outside the federal allocation that are going to local governments, but it will pull its own funding somehow to the commission, is also a good development, because that funding, if the commission was not there, would not have come to the southeast. So it's a good development. Now, mostly it's going to address infrastructure. It's going to address erosion.
Yeah, before we get to that, those who feel elected feel so because I think about 2017 or thereabout, the Northeast Development Commission was created. And then they have the NDDC. And so the Igbos are saying, let's have the Southeast Development Commission, whether it is working or it is not working. Because the absence of it, when it is existing in other parts of Nigeria, will seem to mean that yet we're still being punished for the Civil War. And that's why they feel so excited. And now you have come with the Northwest Development Commission.
There's Northeast already.
There's Northeast
Northwest
that had been there.
Not South. Southwest will bring their own very soon. So the many Southwest are not central.
Yes.
Okay.
So for that reason, they feel that, it's Uhuru. And they say where others have failed, that Bola Tinubu has taken an extraordinary courage to sign it within a record time. What does that say to you?
No, without no doubt, as I said earlier, it's a good development. And then Bola Tinubu signing it, I think this thing has been ready for some time. Why would not have signed it anyway? So
why do you say so?
Because he considers the Northeast as the dots, Southeast as the dots, and that they didn't vote for him and all those kind of things. So for the first time, I see Tinubu rising above petty party politics and doing something right for the Southeast. So remaining one more, which is the creation of additional states for the Southeast, so that the Southeast can get balance. Some zones are having 7 states, so the rest are having 6. Only Southeast has 5. So perhaps when we now create the additional states for the Southeast, then we can now have Southeast now having a sense of belonging and some other infrastructural integration, because Southeast has been left behind in a lot of national integration in terms of infrastructure, especially the railway. So that is still a big issue that the Southeast. So it's not yet Uhuru. People who are saying that this is the best thing that happened to Southeast after the Civil War are not saying the truth.
What is the best thing that happened if this is not the best?
The best thing that happened to Ndigbo after the war was that Ndigbo were able to stand up from the ashes of that war, held themselves high. Even after the war, the 3 R's of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation of Gowon was a mere paper talk shop. Because after he pronounced that, every woman that went back to his place before the war, his bank account was frozen. We were giving him £20, whether he had 10 million pounds or whatever in his account. Yeah. So so it was a mere lip service, and they didn't do that. The engineers that created Ogbunigu and Pakampo and all those Biafra Red Devils and all those things that were used for the war, they were not integrated and used, just like what America did after the Second World War. The twins that were creating all the bombs and all the fighter aircraft for Hitler. Britain and America were in a race to access those people. America got to them first, and so this is how they integrated them into their own military. The same thing we are supposed to have done. But what happened? We allowed that technology to die. And then some of the military people were not also reintegrated into the military. But what the greatest thing that happened to Igbo after the war was that despite all this punishment, despite all this subjugation, the Igbo man was able to rise up and within a short while reasserted himself under 10 years. The war ended on 12th January. The instrument of surrender was signed on 12th January 1970. By 1st October 1979, the Igbo man was the vice president of the same country, of Nigeria. Late Chief Dr. Alex Akweme. So, which means the never die attitude of the Igbo man, within 9 years of being a conquered people, within that short period of being financially impoverished, of losing their houses, losing their means of livelihood, were able to reintegrate themselves into national politics and became the number 2 citizen of Nigeria. That was one of the first things that the Igbos did. So that was the greatest thing that happened to them.
Let me tell you from the perspective in which those who ascribe that, what they mean. What you just said would amount to self-development by the Igbo. Has there been any conscious effort by the federal government to reintegrate the Igbos? What you just described were purely survival instinct of the Igbo. Now this is one major step deliberately taken by the federal government to give a sense of belonging. Look, like giving back your region to you. Whatever you want to do with it, we're going to give you funds to do it by yourself. It's from that premise that they're saying that this is one thing that has really happened since the end of the Civil War. Yeah. Do you have a right to change your mind?
Yeah, no, I don't. Because for me, these are just because Igbo have never been denied of their allocation in terms of federal allocation.
But as a region,
they have not been. I think the biggest problem of Igbo after the war in terms of infrastructure development in the region happened is because of the attitude of the political leaders in Igbo. Because when you check the Second Republic, what happened between 1979 to 1983, you could see that there was a conscious effort in development of Igbo land, infrastructure and economically by Igbo. And they got to Abuja and they're going to Lagos and got it. Lagos was the capital then. Remember what the kind of thing Jim Nwobodo did in the old Anambra state, which consists of Anambra, Enugu, and Ebonyi states now. You remember what he did? All the developments he did, the Anamcos of this world, the Avop oil, the Asotec, a lot of other things that were developed in that period. Imo State too, Sam Mbakwe did wonders. And building the Concord Hotel, building the airports, doing a lot of things, integrated. IMSU too, I think came up that period.
You were the one that built Concord Hotel?
Yes. So a lot of things happened that period. So these were leaders who had conscious development. And Nigerian state did not deny Igbo of the right to do those things. I remember the story behind the Imo State Owerri Airport. That's how Mbakwe went to the federal. I thought we need an airport in Imo State. And they were dilly-dallying, say if you don't build it, I will build one, and you must give it a license to operate. And that's exactly what he did. And the federal government did not deny it. So I am saying that I think it is more of every region goes to the center to canvass from the national cake what gets to them. It is how you play that card. But most of the time, in the Fourth Republic, we have not been having unified fronts in fighting for our cause over there. So we are more interested in being the servants of other regions. And that is, we don't take what belongs to us. We don't go with one voice. So you see one Igbo leader talking something, another one is countering him, and the rest. We have discordant voices in Yoruba land, for example. But when it comes to things that affect the Yoruba nation, they move in with one voice and then come back and continue their squabbles. But we have not been able. So I think that is the greatest problem the Igbos have. Not that the federal government were disenchanting them, but that does not take away the fact that this is a good development. But my pessimism is how it will play out.
Okay.
What is the unity of purpose of this development commission? When the money comes, how will it be used?
I was going to ask you some other questions, and we'll get to that. But first of all, the Southeast Development Commission is a reality. It's a fact of law. So it has come to exist. It has come to be. The question is, what are our expectations? What do you, well, call it agenda setting. What would you say that we expect, you expect, and we expect from that commission going forward? What do we want them to do?
The war ended, instrument of surrender, as I said, 12 January 1970. So that is effective 54 years, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Now, a lot has happened since then. In 2014, I was part of a documentary film that the Minister of Works, National Federal Minister of Works, commissioned the NTA to do. And while we are filming at somewhere Afikpo Road, they were building one road in Afikpo. And as the young Lebanese guy who was working for the company was telling us the story of how when they were digging the road, they dug up unexploded bombs from the Biafran War. We are talking about 44 years later. So a lot of other parts of Igbo land still have those kind of things. Then there were some gullies that have been caused because of bombardments in some areas. Some villages were wiped out totally. We cannot recover the human lives that were lost. Almost every Igbo family lost people.
Our young population.
Lost people during the war. We cannot recover that. But the Igbo nation still owes those people a day of mourning, at least annually, to celebrate them. They celebrate Holocaust and other things. We must celebrate our own people. No political correctness on that. Now, the issue we are talking about, the agenda, first of all, the people who are proponents of this bill, one of the things they found out, what I say the champion was the issue of erosion control. Now, when I saw that, I was asking myself, what happened to all the ecological funds that have been accruing to the southeast over the years?
It came as to the states, but now
it's going to
come as a region.
The states are constituents of the region. So it's still the same actors, the same players. You get the point now, that direct these things. Now, ecological funds. So if we didn't use the ecological funds well, shall we use this one well? So that is one of the things, the agenda setting.
Okay.
How do we treat, especially gully erosion? Our soil has been washed away in so many places. Go to places like, I think, Nanka, go to even South Enugu here. There are some places that houses are just hung, villages have collapsed and gone. So we need to look at erosion control seriously. Then the issue of infrastructural integration.
Network of roads.
Network of roads is something now there's something that is happening apart from a network of roads, network of rails.
Yeah, really.
In fact, there was a picture that was circulating in social media the last 1 week, where in an old rail track, a house was built on the rail track, and there's a gate on inside it.
Which part of Nigeria?
I'll
be on Photoshop.
That's Photoshop. That's built. The same thing when you go to Enugu here, go behind the fire service. That rail that run through. Go to that mechanic village inside fire service there. You will see people are already constructed almost on the rail.
Yes.
So on the gauge itself. So we need regional integration on rail. We need rail. We need the silting of the Niger River. Down on the end of it. Onitsha port needs to start bringing some barges. The boys bringing containers are not supposed to be going to Lagos. So the Development Commission should now start taking major tasks about dredging of the River Niger, so that barges, ship can bring containers from Lagos, can bring containers from Onne, can bring whatever from where they were coming from, and then we can resuscitate the Onitsha port. That is a major challenge. The Nigerian Shippers Council, for the past 15 years, developed what they used to call ICDs, internal containers depot. Later, they changed it to IDP, internal dry ports. The concept is this: that landlocked areas, like some states in the southeast, you don't need to come to Lagos. I think they're trying to bring one. You do what they call internal dry ports, where the custom will be
one is coming to Enugu.
Where the port is there, port is there, container there, custom is there, everybody is there. You come there, you move your stuff from there, go, and then they'll move it from here to Lagos, Calabar, or wherever ports they want to go, and it goes. When it comes back, the same thing, come here and clear it. Now, the Southeast Development Commission, working in tandem with the governors, needs to start looking into how to do that and make sure that if they don't have one, or if there's already, because what they have in Enugu is what we call TTP, Truck Transit Park. The same thing, the Nigerian Shipper Council is developing that too. Truck Transit Park is supposed to be a hub where Enugu State is the, thoroughfare between the east, is the gateway from the east, south, and southeast to the north. So that is why you stay in Enugu inside town here. You start seeing vehicles coming from Akwa Ibom, coming from Rivers, coming from Bayelsa, passing through Enugu here, go to Opi, move to Ibola to the north.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. You stay here, you see Sokoto, you see Kebbi, you see vehicles moving. So this is a gateway. How do we now create that hub where you don't need to take goods, people who are trading in Onitsha or who want to sell their products? We create a hub somewhere in that Ugogo Nike area where it will be a big international market, where they can do a good integration there, provide infrastructure. These are what the Development Commission is supposed to be looking at. We have an airport in that's just built, that has not been commissioned in Ebonyi. How do we make use of that airport? How do we expand the international services of Enugu Airport so that it's not only one airline that is flying here?
What of Anambra Airport?
Anambra Airport, I think that is just a passenger airport for convenience of state officials. And the main, what Anambra needs is that port. Then Oguta Lake. How do we, there's some river area we are neglecting in the southeast, in Imo State and other places. How do we link it to the larger continental shelf so that we can have an ingress and egress of moving of barges, dredging? Because dredging is a capital intensive venture.
I'm sure there's a water course or waterway. So
yes,
yes,
there's a jetty there.
Yes.
So these are things that our waterways, we need to harness them so that we can dredge them properly, so that we can have vessels, barges coming from port, so that our people trading, the man who does, it pains me that you do spare parts manufacturing in Newi, Oba, and then you start traveling to Lagos to send it to people. It doesn't work well. So we can move from here, we can send it to the West African coast. So these are the things Southeast, because each state may not have the funding to be able to achieve that. Okay. But with a body like Southeast Development Commission, then we can start looking at the actual regional integration that can be able to, so there's not stop it at, something during the war, they bombed this town, let's go and excavate. No. We are talking about what will wipe away the pains and tears of the war 54 years later. So people should not come up with telling us they want to go and fill this place that they bombed last year, or they want to go and rebuild this. We are talking about things that these 54 years that we lost, how can we fast track regional integration? Therefore, so that in the next 10 years, we begin to see, plausible things going on.
And so what comes to my mind right now, to achieve this noble objective you now said, so to speak, and I'm sure you speak the mind of a lot of our people, the areas you've mentioned are germane, and if the commission will be able to touch on those areas, we'll have a cause to smile in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But there's a snag. Our recruitment process has always been the bane of every commission agency that we have in Nigeria. And that speaks to the quality of people, whether as chairman of the commission, whether as managing director, whether as board members. Sometimes in Nigeria we have the best of intentions, and we have agencies, parastatals of government that are well positioned to deliver the goods, but the human quality to deliver that becomes a bit compromised in terms of party patronage, in terms of other considerations. So what would be your thoughts on how best to have our best brains, because these are limited that we just espoused could become a mirage if you have people who are brain dead, I'm sorry to use that word, who are brain dead and they can't move the commission forward. So what would be a prescription for the kind of people that will pilot this commission?
I want to reiterate the vexatious outbursts of one of Africa's greatest men called Mo Ibrahim. In a business summit, when Barack Obama was president of the United States, there was a comment in Africa. He was like, okay, it's in America, a 40-something-year-old is the president. He was nominated. He said in Africa, it was a 90-something-year-old man, 70-something-year-old man, 90-something-year-old seeking re-election. I said they want to lead us. He said, lead us to where? Lead us to the grave. So, it's happening in Nigeria.
Yes.
We are seeing 80-something-year-old men made chairman of boards, made chairman, made pro-chancellors of universities. Universities that are supposed to be innovative. You are bringing men who are 70-something, 80-something. Daddy Dali must go. To come in the 21st century to help advise and run our universities. So we have not learned. And that is the problem. As for the Southeast Development Commission, it's time for the Southeast governors to really sit down and say, what do they want to do with the Southeast? Good enough.
You want to politicize it if you are bringing in the governors?
Well, it was a politician that sent in the bill. So your political leaders, when they say Biafra, I say it was the political leaders that went into Biafra war. It was the governor of the Eastern region that led the war.
Was he a politician?
Whether you like it or not, they were politicians. They were military politicians. They were the governors. So you cannot, most of these things, you cannot do it without your political leaders. So it was a political leader that sponsored the bill, that made sure the bill was passed. So what we haven't gotten it, what do we now do? Let's use the Obasanjo template when he was president of Nigeria, where the template was, we need to move this country forward. Nigeria was coming from a pariah state. So he did everything possible to ensure that let's have the best brains. Let's get our country moving. So what was he doing? He was going for advocacies and the rest were people. So what did they pick? Eggheads. People were not politicians from anywhere, who later transmuted to politics. A lot of them now went into politics. When they saw how sweet the thing was, they now went into politics. But again, they were just hot-headed guys who were just ambitious to make Nigeria better. And we see the result we got. A lot of policies were made. A lot of Nigeria get recognition with debt cancellation, PENCOM, NICOM. A lot of things, were set in place. A lot of, changes. So that template is good. Purely on merit. Invite Nigerians from the diaspora, from the Southeast. Invite them. There was a movement that was championed by eminent Igbo eggheads like 5 years ago. They call it Southeast Development, done from this Dawn document that the Western Nigeria did, Development Agenda for Western Nigeria. Was this something like that where we try to set on a development agenda for Southeast? Now, with the commission like this now, let those people now bring these ideas. Let's bet it inside here. So let's look for the Igbos in the diaspora, Igbos within Nigeria that have what it takes to lead this thing purely on merit. A developmental expert, the best brains, somebody who has international clout, who can, we have a lot of them, who can, engender trust. People can come invest, in Ali Igbo, easy. Because of trust. People like Okonjo Wala, thank God, the woman is still strong and kicking. And look at the envious positions she's, holding over. The presidents all over the world, respect her. Such a personality, for example, can attract a lot of things. And so many minds, Igbo has a lot of brilliant minds. So don't say, oh, this person is our party members, or this person is not our party, this person won his ward for us, or this person didn't win his local government for us. Leave those ones for your elections. When we talk about Igbo agenda, and then we should not be looking at this money as this money for sharing. So I hope money will not come in and you say, Anambra take 10 naira, Enugu take 10 naira. You will not achieve anything. What we need to achieve is look at the whole environment as an Igbo Southeast agenda for developmental purposes. If you don't do it like that, if it is what they're doing in Abuja, money comes and you share to the different states, so that tomorrow Enugu will not come with a bill and say, oh, we have erosion in this place. Anambra will come and say, they will say, okay, oh, governor this take this, governor this take this. That is the end of that commission. But when we see the funds remain with, we have the meetings, we do the research, we do visibility and all those things, and we start implementing it, having like government agencies, people who have started something like the Nigerian Shippers Council I've mentioned, having an interface with them, have an interface. I think the Nigerian Navy is also trying to do something with the jetty at Uzuwani. Have an interface with them. Go to NIWA, Nigerian Land Water Ways Authority, about the dredging of our rivers and how to connect them. Go to Nigeria Ports Authority. How do we license someone? These are the interfaces we should be having now.
Okay, I'll ask you to hold your gunshot. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You are still watching Uncommon Conversations, and we're still reaching you from our Enugu studios. Our guests, Dr. Ambrose Igboke, is still here. Ambrose, before we had that small break, we were talking about the quality of men and women that will pilot the affairs of this commission. And you have tried to espouse the kind of people you expect. But I want to draw your attention to what many consider why Ohanaeze is a toothless bulldog, so to speak. Recruitment pattern. Governors, that you just mentioned, have been in the forefront, they've been the vanguard of deciding who becomes Ohanaeze president. Take, for example, if it was zoned to Imo State, and there was no way Iwenya would have merged without Hope Uzodinma. And somehow it takes care of the day-to-day running of the Ohanaeze president. There's not a common pause. Now, the danger is, they might say, XYZ state, bring chairman. And ask the governor to bring. XYZ state, bring MD. Bring this board. And then, the danger again is that these governors may turn this into a political patronage. Do you see this danger?
The danger is very real. In fact, the danger is active. It's an active volcano that will just erupt anytime. And so to shield this, the governors, are very powerful people.
They've always been.
They are very powerful people. Where anybody who is trying to pretend is just playing the ostrich. But for the first time, can they just say, okay, let them just ensure that the recruitment process is based purely on merits. Let's not try to zone the positions. Because themselves, some of these our governors now are actually people who have been in business or who are consultants. A lot of them. I get to the point, at least I know that of Enugu. I know also that of Anambra. I know that of Imo. Abia. These are astute people who have been high-level, engagements when it comes to economic ventures.
But surprisingly,
yeah, what I'm saying,
the act of being an expert in private sector has not
translated to anything in public.
So in public sector.
Now, what we are now saying is that they should leave this this baby now that has just been born. They should feed it with the right milk. They should not enroll it in kindergarten when it is 2 months old. What we are trying to say is, allow, if we can call for, in fact, this kind of thing, allow, HR consulting firms.
Yes. Big time
International HR that we have in Nigeria to handle this kind of things. We won't mention it so that we don't give free advice.
Yes.
But allow them. Call in people like our sister Ngozi Iweala to be part of it. Give her, for example, give her a responsibility. Go ahead, hunt for us. In fact, make her somebody like that as a chairman.
Yeah.
Of the Development Commission. Tell her, head hunt for us the core staff of this commission.
Devoid of political coloration.
Just head hunt for us the best in the Igbo you can get, both in Nigeria, Africa, and in the diaspora. Then the work of the governors is to ensure that those people who are recruited based on merit, that they pay supervisory role to make sure that they give them terms of reference, give them deliverable timelines, give them objectives, give them key performance indicators, KPIs, that what they will not be doing as Southeast Governors Forum is to come review. They can even set up a review board on their own. So it's okay, every month or every quarter or every twice a year or every year, let's see what you have done. Then these Southeast development, apart from sharing money or using money that government can now be the driver of investment in the Southeast in core areas. So what the governors can be doing is, when they're meeting, we have this common problem. How do we solve it? And then it's okay, Governor A, can you put something in your budget for this? Governor B, can you put something in your budget for this? Governor C, can you? And then it's okay, the Development Commission, we have tried, we have brought in 30%. Go and look for investors for this 70%. We want a road to run from Ubolafu and terminate in a boundary town between Ebonyi State and Ogoja or something like that. We want these are the kind of this that will carry this artery. You start walking, and then when you can now even start going to federal government, to federal roads. You say, look, there's a road linking this place to this place. The cost, we have done our own estimation. Our cost is 100 billion naira. The Southeast Development Commission will bring 30 billion. Federal government is your road, give us 70 billion. Or we can bring the instrument for it. So far you promise that you write it off. This is how development, but one single state may not be able to carry that load. And that is why the Development Commission is there. So we need to really begin to interrogate these things. And that is how it works. But when we sit down and say, State A, bring chairman, you have changed it to another government venture that will not work. Because that is how it is. Something here, old men are coming as chairman of Council of Universities. And then, which ideas are they bringing? If you talk of these things we have mentioned, what do they know about it? Nothing. Why will Southeast, for example, even not have his own refinery that will service the states? Why are we not, you want to travel through the Southeast, the roads are not smooth. One governor will do to his own boundary. Then when you enter the other state, you start wondering whether you left Nigeria. Because your vehicle immediately stops moving. It starts galloping. And so these are the problems we are having, no integration. So with this Development Commission now, if they allow it to work well, it may just bring the needed integration we need in the Southeast.
Okay, thank you, Ambrose. We may have to change gear. I think we've dealt exhaustively on the issue of the Southeast Development Commission. We've tried to say, well, it's a good one, in spite of our reservations about government, state government interference and all that, and you'll be able to provide what looks like an equal opportunity employer for those who will work there, because that's the only way it could work. Thank you very much. Let's just leapfrog to something else. And the Nigeria is 10 stop, so to speak. And nobody can doubt this. Nigeria is on a semi or high alert One, because there's movement everywhere, there's talks everywhere, there's conversation everywhere about a possible protest that will begin on the 1st of August and possibly end, as they say, on the 10th of August. End bad governance protest. Those who organize it would appear to be determined. Government is a bit jittery. There have been meetings going on in Abuja, governors, ministers, national security advisor, and all that. And a lot of people are signing in. Allegedly, I think we say he has endorsed it, the Charlie Boys of this world. So we don't know what it portends for Nigeria. But the first thing is protest a legitimate right of the people?
Well, protest in democracy. In fact, in our African cultural system, protest has always been, accepted as a way of, hearing your grievance. And that's why even in African proverb, there's say you don't beat a child and tell the child not to cry.
Not to cry.
So it is when you beat a child, the child will complain and cry. And that is why if you go to the village, you beat a boy, the boy will be marching and shouting and protesting. In democracy, the framers or the conceivers of democracy actually put that, as a legitimate means for protest, expression, grievances, disgruntledness, anger, frustrations. You need to ventilate these things because they know that if you don't ventilate it, it may explode. So democracy is a right. Democracy ensures the right of every citizen to demonstrate. Now the police somehow is still stuck in the colonial era where they tell you that you need permit. You don't need permit. Lawyers have said it, have been tested in court, but different people still come and say the police has not cleared you. Police does not need to clear anybody to do demonstrations or protests in Nigeria. Police, you just need to inform the police that we are doing a protest. Come and provide security. So the work of the police and other security agencies during the protest in democracy is to ensure that fifth columnists do not infiltrate legitimate protests, to ensure that the people who are infiltrated do not turn protests to riots. Because that is where the problem starts. When protests are turned to riots. Riots are not the same with protests. So when you provide legitimate cover, in terms of when you provide security cover for legitimate protests, they don't turn to riots. So it is the work of the police and security agencies to provide cover for those who are protesting. There's hunger in the land. You are beating a child, you are telling the child not to cry. There's unemployment rate very high. There is service charges increasing everywhere. Electricity tariff has gone above the roof. Fuel, petroleum cost is everywhere. Cost of education is increasing. Cost of food is not more acceptable. Cost of drugs. People are living at edges. And you are telling them not to protest. What do you want them to do? To go and die in silence? No. So they have to protest. They have to, and protest is to let the government know. Because these people don't have access to government. Those days, they used to write open letters in newspapers before technology became prevalent. But you don't even who have access, who reads it. So will the people now go to government house or go to the various? No. So this way they can now. So if the government doesn't want the protest, as they are saying, reduce the cost of petroleum, reintroduce the subsidy, and make sure the subsidy is not bad. It is the fraud that is bad in it. So remove the fraud in the subsidy. How can the almighty government tell me you don't know those who are committing the fraud? Meanwhile, the failure of government to make the 4 refineries work are the issues that we are having. So why not fix the refineries? Why not make them work? Okay. So that we can have all these things and then we cannot go back to the status quo of May 28, 2023. When we go back to the status quo, then we can begin the conversations. Because that's where we need to go back to. People spend as much as, look at what is happening in the universities now. A lot of universities are shutting down electricity supply to their students. Yeah. Benin is grappling with that. Lagos is grappling, Ibadan is grappling, all of these universities. So do you want an implosion? So the students are having issues, and once they start having issues and it spills out, it becomes a problem. So the best thing now is for government to start coming out fast. Look at what they are doing, selling truckloads of grains.
Let's leave that. Let me ask you. The protests, if it begins, will it be legitimate?
Well, the protests, if it begins, it will be legitimate. Because the protests are not going to stop. They will not 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 stop.
How can it be managed? I have this saying, you have a right to swing your arms, but I must mind the nose of the man standing next to me. Okay? Protesters, they have a right to protest. Must they stop others from moving around? Must they barricade the roads? Must they make movement difficult for people? Must they also suffer those who are doing the legitimate businesses? How can it be?
There are different types of protests. There was what you call picketing, which Labour uses a lot. Picketing is you close down an establishment, for example, an organization, maybe the office or government establishment, and said nobody's coming in, nobody's going to work here today, or for 3 days or 4 days. That is picketing. It's also recognized as a legitimate form of protest. We saw, I watched on one news channel this morning, how Niger Delta women, some women from some community in Niger Delta who have been living in darkness, went to protest, and they picket the company and said, no, you will not work here until you restore power, electricity power to us. We have been in darkness. So it's legitimate. It's allowed. But now, when you now come for demonstrations and protests of this nature, where it involves the larger group of people, that's why I said the work of the security forces is to ensure that other citizens that are going about their legitimate means of income, we should not suffer for it. So what do? You just like when I see a lot of when people are doing demonstrations, there's a security escort. Yeah. When even churches that are trying to do promotion, or companies that are doing promotion for their goods, or you are doing activity, even the road safety, you see them with their vehicle controlling. Those are the kind of things you should provide. When the protests happened in Ojota in January 2012, we saw police protection too. Even the military were there to protect people. The no subsidy remover. When they wanted to remove fuel subsidy, the same people, in fact, the people in this government now spearheaded that protest, that Jonathan should not remove fuel subsidy. And they mobilized Nigeria, called SNG, Save Nigerian Group. Now, in your own time, the same people who are in government now were the protagonists of Nadeco, who protested deeply against the regime of Abacha when the June 12th election was cancelled. And so I think they know the power of protest, and they know these governments, because the people are entrenched activists who have gone through the crucible of protest, who faced the guns of the military, and they were able to force someone like IBB to step aside. They didn't stop at that. They were hunted. Some of them went on exile, continued, and they made sure that Abacha had a hell of time. So they know what protests can do, and I think that's why they are very jittery. But they have nothing to worry about. Just like the way when Abacha was president, head of state, he was clamping down on them, and they were still doing their protest. So why not provide a conducive atmosphere for protesters to do what they want, and then come out, address them? You get the point now. Okay. When you are having your protest, the minister is waiting for you here, or your governor is waiting for you here, wants to address you. These are the kind of things they should put in place. But telling people, don't protest.
No,
don't protest.
A very quick one. I think the Army Command had actually reacted, and a few other people in government have also come to say that they're not against protest, but they allege that this protest may become violent, and they lend credence to NSAS. I don't know why they ascribe that. I know there have been protests in the past in Nigeria that have been quite peaceful. So they're using the fact that it might be violent to say, I don't know what they want to do. But don't you think that that's that's a dangerous signal from government?
The fear is valid. But you don't say because you're afraid of accidents on the road, you won't travel. Then you stay in your house and die. I get the point. Air accidents happen every day. Road accidents happen. But people still travel. So what you do. So what we are saying is that, why did the NSAS thing happen? What were the arrangements for security? What happened in toll gate in that October 2020? So these are the things we start interrogating. Rather than saying, oh, we are afraid, why not say, study what happened then, and try to ensure that it doesn't happen again. So mobilize your men, give security signals, give security alert. Okay, tell the protesters, where are you moving from? Let us know your designation. Like, okay, we can provide cover for you here. We can provide cover. Let's have a designated route. You know, you can join in the organization to ensure that there is a, and then you can say anybody who is trying to raise trouble or burn fire, or try to set people's shop up, the person is apprehended. In fact, you will tell the protesters to join you to apprehend the person. So you join in the protest to ensure that these things are, but telling people don't come out on hoodlums. You know, there's some language that are used, you know, that you say, oh, people are coming to destabilize, you have security reports, so don't come out. It rather agitate the people who want to come out.
Okay, I don't know how correct that is, but I learned and I read somewhere that the organizers have said no beer drinking. They've made some rules, things that could really actually get people, violent happy. They say those things should not happen. How do you see that? They're trying to have an understanding that certain things should not be brought to the
well, maybe there will be no backup consumption while they are moving on the road. But how do you control such?
Well, that's part of the
people organizers cannot control, so they should stop playing to the gallery. You can't control such. And how do you know? In Lagos, there is this thing they call monkey tail and all those things, concussion people take at home. What if the person have taken all these substances?
It will last for one full day.
Some of those things last for 12 hours. So when you when you take the person's eye is red and you do all kinds of things. But when there's a deterrent, when there's a deterrent, yes, or when there are deterrents along the way, then they tend to behave themselves. But when there are no deterrents, you look to the left, no security person, you look to your right, no security person, you can start becoming exuberant. But when there are security people that once you start to misbehave, you are picked out. In fact, your fellow protester will be the one to push you out and give it to them, because that was not part of the protest. Means, oh, you know, you make yourself loud, you come with your placards, you sing your songs. Government official, they are somewhere to welcome you, they will address you, they will say hunger must go, all those kind of things. That's what protest is all about. It's not riot.
Okay, the protest is built to last for 10 days. Is that too short, too long?
10 days, I don't know how they want to sustain the protest for 10 days. I mean, some of these things, when they take a life of their own.
Yeah, of course.
So you don't say you want to start protest day one and do it for 10 days. Unless it's a camping kind of protest. No, that's why I said they have different kinds of protest. Is it street protest? Is it picketing? Is it camping? The camping one is that I think some students did it. It's either in Thailand or somewhere recently, 2 years ago, where you camp. You come to the front of maybe a government building or whatever. You camp there, stay there, sing songs and whatever. Ensure that some people, they were cooking there, they didn't go. They were even doing shifting. Some people will come in the afternoon, go, another set will come. So unless they are doing camping, we can say, okay, we can camp for 5 days or so. That okay, is.
Dr. Ambrose, but if you cannot do that, you questions that you must take before we call it a day. One is, very briefly, in 30 seconds or so, they said they're copying the Kenyan protest model. Can it be applied to Nigeria? No, the Kenya
protest model went away, went overboard, because it turned to riots and people were killed. We can't copy. We can't. Do you want us to be killed? You want protesters to be killed? No. So it is a wrong template. The Kenya model is a wrong template. That's not. We should look. I think the Bangkok or Thailand. There was a time students actually looked. They were inside snow, you know. And they stayed there, and the government was embarrassed. And
okay,
the international community.
My last question. Polarization has started. The Yoruba youths, well, maybe a splinter group have asked that, look, we're not part of this. And that group in the north have also said, look, those who are applying that on their own. More may come. How do you see this polarization in one way or the other affecting the unity of that protest? Or maybe even being a counterforce?
People are going for protest, and according to them, are not going because they are Yoruba youths or Igbo youths or Hausa youths. They are going because of unity of purpose, of hunger, of frustration, of trying to say that you are frustrated. So those are unities, unifying enough. There's no polarization in hunger. They are hungry. So that is what is driving them.
The cause of fuel, there's no polarization.
That is what is driving them. So all these people stand some side and say,
of rice is, there's no polarization.
When you go to the market, they don't ask whether you're Igbo, Hausa or Yoruba. They just tell you the price of. So that is what is driving the unity of people, that is driving the pay. That was the reason. The reason they gave is not because Yoruba man is the president and Igbo man is not happy, or the Hausa man. No, that's not the issue. The issue was that we want improvement of the economy. common suffering, want improvement on the economy.
Okay,
That is what they're driving
Dr.
for.
Ambrose, I want to thank you very much for this evening. It's been quite conversational, and of course, you brought some uncommon ideas that our people, our leaders need to tap into. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, like you said, this is a baptism of fire. I'm sure sooner than later we'll bring you on some other very uncommon issues.
It will be my pleasure.
Okay, this is where we'll draw the curtain for today, and join us same time tomorrow for yet another interesting edition of Uncommon Conversations. Thank you for watching.